Straight line speed, difference of a second is not down to a power unit. It's also a matter of drag. And I think we need to see how we perform in qualifying. There's a bit more to come, and then we can evaluate where the deficit comes from.
Mercedes is on the hunt for its first win of the season, something that is quite strange given the fact they've been dominant in the previous 8 seasons. They only lost out on the 2021 Drivers' Championship in a very controversial matter, as they won 8 straight Constructors' Championships. This only adds to the narrative that the struggle they have to win a race this season is something we're not used to seeing, and it doesn't seem like the chances will get any better in Singapore. There are some mixed opinions in the Mercedes team prior to this GP, and if you want to find out more, stick around with us until the end of this video. Now, Mercedes' struggles have put them on the back foot compared to Ferrari and Red Bull, and although they are very close with Ferrari for the P2 and the Constructors' Championship, this battle is only kept exciting thanks to Ferrari's blunders. True, Mercedes did find some pace in the previous races, and even though they haven't won a race this season, they're still much better than the first couple of races where Hamilton finished P10 in Jeddah and not even in the points in Imola.
Just brake tested me. I've just hit him, man. My wing's broken.
No, it's okay. It looks okay. He's been told to give you the position.
He just brake tested me though, so I didn't know what's going on.
One of the reasons why Mercedes was able to remain close in the championship fight is due to the reliability of its engines. It's evident that they built a bulletproof engine that, although a bit slower compared to Ferrari and Red Bull, they've managed to upgrade it, and now they're in competition with Ferrari for second place in the championship. Now, according to Mike Elliott, the team did make a good progress in the previous races as they're eyeing Singapore for their first season win. He added, "We've had some good races and we've had some not so good races, but I think that's what's really encouraging is the understanding that's coming from the simulation work that we're doing and the understanding that's coming from the wind tunnel. It's allowing us to work out why our performance is going up and down, what we need to get back into the fight right at the front, and what we need to do over the winter. I think they're the key things," said Elliott, who also spoke about Mercedes' immediate goals. "We want to try and fight Ferrari for that P2 position. We want to try and win a race this season, or multiple races ideally. And most of all, we want to get ourselves back on track so we're fighting properly for a championship next year. That's not any disrespect to our opposition, we've got fantastic opposition, but that's what we really need to do. We want to be back there and we want to be challenging for championships because that's what we're about," finished Elliott. Now, on top of that, the team does understand that the engine just needs to deliver more speed, as Mercedes has been proven to be lacking speed in the main straights and in the high downforce tracks, such as the city circuits of Monaco and Singapore, the upcoming one. During the Monaco GP, we've seen a struggling Mercedes and a car that just wasn't able to battle with the extreme braking points and the low speed corners. Nevertheless, the optimism in Elliott stays high when it comes to the Singapore GP, adding, "When you look back at the learning we've gathered over the season, I think we expect that Singapore will be a bit more like we've seen in Budapest and Zandvoort. It's a bumpy circuit, which is going to provide its challenges, but in terms of the nature of the corners, we'll think it'll be a bit better for our car. As always, we'll do all the pre-simulation work we need to do, we'll maximise our learning in the practice sessions, and hopefully we can turn that into a good result at the weekend." But where is the trouble for Mercedes? Since Elliott has so much optimism for the first win of the season, both Mercedes drivers have downplayed their chances of the first win for Mercedes, as they both shared their opinion when it comes to what should Mercedes fans expect from the team in Singapore. "We have to be realistic. That Red Bull is almost unbeatable. It's going to take some real doing to beat that car. Performance-wise, they're fully ahead of everyone. We haven't caught them and we don't have upgrades coming to overtake them, so it's going to take some fortune going our way. Not impossible, because we could potentially have beaten them in Zandvoort, maybe could have beaten them in Budapest," finished Hamilton. The same mentality prevails in Russell as he downbeats over Singapore bumps, adding, "I think on paper Singapore should suit our car, but when we look back at the street circuits of Monaco and Azerbaijan, our car doesn't fare too well over the bumps. We're not too sure how it will fall out, but we need to keep on pushing, keep on improving the car, and I'm pleased that we got a clear direction we need to go now," finished Russell. Well, with that being said, it's worth mentioning that Mercedes is bringing an upgrade to its car for the Singapore GP, As Russell said, the street circuits aren't something that Mercedes are really proud of, and that's why they're looking to change some things. The team has 6 races remaining to achieve something that was achieved in the first race of the season, and according to George Russell, the team will have its best chance in Austin, and not in Singapore as everyone expects them to. I'd probably say maybe Austin. I think Austin could be a circuit that suits us better, but I truly don't know. I think as a team we're making a huge amount of progress at the moment, and we're understanding the car more and more. Hopefully as we develop the car further, we can take some further gains. Finished Russell. Now, as for the other teams, it's evident that Red Bull is looking forward to continuing with the domination of Verstappen, as he's looking to crush multiple records that are just sitting there waiting for someone to kick them straight in the face.
Max Verstappen in a shower of sparks makes his way into turn 1 ahead of Charles Leclerc. But now can Leclerc with DRS get back at Verstappen? No problem this time.
The championship is currently favouring him and only him, and the most interesting fight that we're currently seeing is for P2 in both championships. Russell does have a chance to finish P2 since it's not that far away from him, as that spot is very highly anticipated by Perez and Leclerc.
Well, first, if you told me 5 days ago I'd be lining up P2 on the grid, I'd have thought you was joking, but we've been working really well together this weekend. The guys are just fantastic. It helps that I already knew everybody.
One team principal that spoke about Mercedes' struggles is Christian Horner, and according to him, he doesn't have an idea as to why Mercedes struggle that much when it comes to interpreting the 2022 rules. He said, "Yes, I'm surprised by Mercedes' lack of pace, because they transitioned early to the 2022 rules in 2021. They made quite a noise about compromising last year's championship and moving over very early onto their 2022 car. Then of course, when their car broke cover, particularly with this zero side pod upgrade, it looks so radically different. You just have the expectation from seeing how dominant Mercedes have been that they would be in a very similar position. Obviously they were hurt last year getting beat to the driver's title by Verstappen, but we felt they would come back with a renewed vengeance for this year. So it's quite remarkable that after the domination they've had for 8 years, that they're yet to win a Grand Prix in 2022. Said Horner, who also continued to talk about the legality of the side pod concept of Mercedes, adding, "The first question was, is it legal? Because it's a very different interpretation, and of course it was. Then the guys were pretty convinced early on that they just didn't feel that it would work within the architecture that we created. There was an inner confidence that we'd picked the right route. When the lap time started to come in from Bahrain test and you could visibly see the cars on track, it didn't look like they had a rocket ship or that we'd missed something fundamental." Finished Horner. So, with that being said, it's evident that Mercedes doesn't have a good time ahead of them in Singapore. The Yas Marina street circuit is likely not to suit them at all, as mentioned by George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. So, what do you think will happen next in Singapore? Do you think that Mercedes has a legit shot for the first win of the season? Let us know in the comments below.